All right, y'all. What's up? What's up? What's up? I have so much to talk to you about tonight. Nolan's parents' friend has come out and exposed them. I mean, he has not been holding back. He's saying the quiet part out loud. And I'm telling you, I did not expect it. We're going to get into that. Also, let's talk about Dr. Fauci being held accountable. And let's talk about Officer Tatum's appearance on Jubilee. Because let's just say a whole lot happened. I'm Tamera. You're watching the Tamera Nealy Show. I would like to welcome back all my returning subscribers. And if you're new here, I would like to let you know I'm happy you're here. Quickly, before we get into this, let's get into a word of prayer, because on this show, we believe that prayer is our first resort and not our last. Lord, I thank you for today. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to gather with friends around the world. Lord, I pray that this show be productive. And I thank you just for allowing us to share the truth tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, all right. How's everyone doing this evening? This show, you're going to have the opportunity to call in. So just know, if you want to call in, make sure that you email me at the tamaraneelyshow@gmail.com. I will send you the link from there. At the end of tonight's show, you can call in and share your thoughts. I'm going to take a few callers. So if you want to be one of the callers, you might want to start emailing me now, instead of waiting until later, because I'm anticipating a line. So I can only get to a few tonight. So please make sure you go ahead and visit that link, all right? I'm seeing everybody showing up in the chat. It's good to see everyone here tonight. Now, I want to start out tonight's show by talking to you a little bit about what's happening with Dr. Fauci. Now, I never thought this moment would come. I never thought that he would be held accountable in this way. I remember what I went through when COVID started. I was a senior in high school. I was the debate team captain. I was a link crew leader. I was also the senior class historian. So I was very, very busy that year planning for graduation. I was responsible for the senior slideshow, and I was anticipating a lot of events happening. And I remember second semester of my senior year in high school, we got the disappointing news that our classes would be moved virtually. And I remember just being devastated. I remember sitting in an on-cue parking lot, and let me tell you, it was like the end of the world for me. It felt like that. And I'm sure you all have stories as well. I mean, you guys can think about the inconveniences that you had because of COVID. Y'all remember when they were trying to make us wear those masks, even when we were outside in God's fresh air. So a lot was going on during COVID time. And there is a common denominator that we all share in common. And we all know this name, Dr. Fauci. Now, Dr. Fauci has been called for questioning. President Trump's team, this new administration is not going to let him not be accountable, even if he's immune. And I don't blame them. So I want to show you this clip. Some of you may have seen it. Some of you may have not. I don't know how I missed this, but some reason I did. Let's check it out.
Nothing says honesty like taking the fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, When he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyer is sitting behind you now, shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic, you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes.
Senator Hawley he's saying everything that I wish I could say to Dr. Fauci, because we know that the love of money is the root of all evil. So when everything that was happening in COVID was happening, when we were being forced to wear masks, even though we live in a free country, when we were being told that we have to stay home, that we have to 6 feet social distance, that we can't see our loved ones. I couldn't even see my great-grandfather in the hospital before he passed away. I couldn't even see him because of people like Dr. Fauci. Then he wants to get on here and plead the fifth. This is disgusting, and that's why I don't feel bad for this senator holding him accountable the way he is, because we were all uncomfortable, and he needs to understand just the amount of pressure he put on all of us, just the amount of inconveniences he put on all of us.
Totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You remember Greg Folkers? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Your chief of staff is the answer. Do you remember Patricia Conrad? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
She was your personal assistant. And what were these individuals doing in the depth of the pandemic in November of 2020, when millions of Americans were suffering from COVID? What were they doing? I tell you what they're doing. Folkers was on your behalf soliciting and gathering information for a cash award. Let's look at it. We've got his email right here, right over my shoulder. Folkers says, I'm working on this nomination for the Dan David Award for Fauci. We need to beef up the COVID part. Do you have language in the can that you could share that delineates how we responded in new ways to COVID? He sends this to multiple federal employees. What was the Dan David Award? Do you remember, Doc?
Wow. This upsets me. It brings back a lot of memories. It reminds me of what I was going through during that time. And I know so many of you were going through difficulties because of COVID and, being told that you couldn't even work because you wouldn't get the COVID vaccine. Your job said they got to let you go because you refused to bow down to the mob. Now, there were a lot of inconveniences that happened during COVID. There were a lot of unfortunate events that happened, but there were also some positives that happened, and I'll get to that at the end. Now, let's keep going.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
It was a $900,000 cash award. $900,000 cash award. And he got it because he used federal employees to get it. And this wasn't the only award, was it, Dr. Fauci? In fact, you applied for and received at least 8 other federal cash prizes on federal time using federal employees and federal resources. Here they are over my shoulder. Besides the Dan David Award, you've got the Partnership for Public Service. You've got the Adelson Prize. You've got the Smithsonian Award. You've got the National Academy of Medicine's Award. You've got the CDC Foundation. In fact, You turned your staff into a full-time application machine. You actually wrote to people and said, do you think maybe I'd qualify? And you got cash for all of this. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 employees, was it? In fact, you used 8 separate federal employees on federal time using federal resources to solicit cash awards. Isn't that true?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Here they are, right over.
I don't think people like this should even qualify for immunity. He made all that money. This senator just listed 8 federal employees to apply for awards. And as you can see that list there, Dr. Fauci used those people to apply for all of these awards and has made millions of dollars off of COVID. And you have to wonder why he was able to do it. He was serving in a very, President Trump and Dr. Fauci was present during some of President Trump's term, but he was also present during some of Biden's term as well. And I think there were a lot of people in the background who were enabling this corruption. I'm not saying President Trump was, because I don't believe he was. But I do believe that there were people in the background enabling this dysfunction and allowing Dr. Fauci to do these things in order for themselves to also benefit and profit off of COVID. And then those same people want to complain because right now we're kind of in a recession right now is what it's looking like. And all that money was being printed and everything was just, they were kind of fixing the prices a little bit to make it to where people could be able to, either afford things or not pay right away. And so a lot was crashing down while you had a group of people in the background who were benefiting and making all this money. And that's unacceptable. So now I never felt bad to begin with when I said I wasn't about to, buy into the whole, you got to get a vaccine and 6 feet and social distance. I was one of those people who was just like, okay, I'm young, I'm healthy. I don't go around people who are older in general because I'm on a college campus anyway. But if I was around an older person and they asked me to put on a mask, I probably would do that just out of respect. But I knew that I wasn't going to be affected by COVID more than likely. So I wasn't living in fear. I wasn't brainwashed. I wasn't buying into you have to trust everything the government says. And if you don't do that, then you're a bad person because they were trying to do all that. And I'm sure some of y'all weren't doing that either. And now I don't know about you, but I'm glad I wasn't doing all of that because look at what was really happening. They knew good and well that most people were not dying from COVID, but yet they were stacking up all this cash.
Over my shoulder, here's all of them. The people that you use, federal employees, so that you could go and get cash money. And the most hilarious part is that you weren't content to even dragoon them into applying for all of these cash awards. You then had them go out to the ethics agencies and ethics watchdogs and demand that you be able to get the money. That's right. We've got it in your emails. Your staff and employees on federal time, using federal resources, being paid with federal dollars, are soliciting cash for you. And then they're turning around and saying to the agency, we don't want just an answer. We want to get to yes, because Fauci wants the money. He wants it. We want to get to yes, and yes takes time. This is your chief of staff again, using federal email to pressure the agency's own ethics people so that you could get money, so that you could get rich.
Wow. While all of us 2020 grads were having we didn't even have a graduation because of Dr. Fauci. Because he was advising the country, because he was the country's doctor, telling us all that we needed to stay home. Even though we were young and healthy and and there was no reason for us to be at home. And you mean to tell me he was making all this money? I'm telling you, y'all. I mean, I kind of already knew this was happening, but I'm just livid hearing about this. I'm livid because I even remember when I was in college, my first year of college, COVID was still happening. And I remember going to the library, and the security guard would walk around the library while we were studying or trying to hang out with our friends. And if he saw our mask down, he would get so upset and threaten to kick us out the library. That was the kind of harassment we were dealing with. Now, please, y'all share y'all stories in the chat, because I know I'm not the only one who can relate to this.
And it violated the law, didn't it, Dr. Fauci? Didn't it? It violated the law, didn't it?
Is that a question?
It is a question. You can answer. Go ahead.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Federal law, as you very well know, prohibits the solicitation of cash awards or other personal benefits for federal employees. And it certainly prohibits using your own employees to do this. 5 CFR section 2635-205B. It says it right there in black and white. You cannot use federal resources, federal dollars, federal employees, federal offices, federal email, federal time to solicit cash awards. And you did all of it. And the worst part is thousands of people were dying while you were doing it.
Lock him up.
You were supposed to be the nation's doctor, and you're playing one on TV. But this is what you were doing with your time. Isn't that true?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, I can see why. I can certainly see why. You know what I can't quite figure out is that why you were so obsessed with it, because you're already rich. I mean, and your scheme worked here. I mean, your net worth now is north of $12 million.
Wow.
You got over $1 million in cash awards during COVID, during a 12-month, 24-month span during COVID. $1 million you knocked down in cash money using federal resources. Now you're worth more than $12 million. You've got a pension that in its first year paid out north of $400,000 a year. 1 million people dead, you're getting rich. 1 million people dead, you're using federal employees to get cash awards for you. 1 million people dead, and you're here taking the fifth because you don't want to admit that what really happened in all that time was a multi-month, multi-year course of self-dealing.
Right.
Isn't that true, Dr. Fauci?
Oh my gosh. We already know what he's about to say. He's about to plead the fifth again. And let me tell you this. Yes, this senator has brought up some good information or accurate information when he talks about how 1 million people passed away. Also, we need to bring up the fact that inflation was so high and still is high. Prices have not returned back to pre-COVID time. And it's because of people like Dr. Fauci, who was filling their pockets, and they contributed to inflating the dollar. He needs to be held responsible for that. Because that $12 million that he's now worth really should have been going in the hands of the American people. And so this is unacceptable. And I don't know what needs to happen as far as government-wise and lawmaking-wise, but they need to figure out a way to hold people like Dr. Fauci accountable. He should not be allowed to plead the fifth, and well, everybody can plead the fifth, but he should not be allowed to have immunity. Do you all agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, well, silence is admission. And here's the real thing. At the end of the day, it wasn't just about the money, really, was it? It was really about a power trip.
Yep, power.
I mean, through all of this, you want to be the most famous scientist in the world. You were so focused on getting every award and every drop of cash that you could, all because you wanted to be on TV. You wanted to be the sun god of science. You wanted to be the guy who was in charge of it all. You wanted to lambast Trump. You wanted to make sure that nobody else stole your spotlight. You wanted to be the guy. You had time to sit for In Style magazine. Here's what you were doing with your time. You could sit for In Style magazine, but you can't answer questions for the American people. You could sit for In Style magazine, but you're here taking the fifth. You could sit for In Style magazine and get $1 million in cash awards. But now the cat's got your tongue. I bet he does. I tell you what, here's my conclusion from all of this. This was really all about you the whole time. Somewhere along the way, you lost your way. You may have been a good public servant at one time. I don't know. But I can tell you from reading your emails now, from looking at what you did, how you used your employees, somewhere along the line, it became all about you. You became a narcissist and a megalomaniac and a liar. And you've lied to the American people, and you've lied to this body. And you've disgraced your profession by doing it. You called yourself the most famous scientist in the world. You've done more to harm science than anybody in my lifetime.
Wow.
And I hope you'll go home and write that in your diary.
Well, I mean, he said the quiet part out loud there. And I'm sure many of you, like myself, can appreciate what he said there. Now, I did say that there was a silver lining. You know, we got to talk a little bit about the positive, because we did cover the negative parts of COVID, which there were a lot of negative parts. I mean, you guys, y'all know, y'all experienced it just like I did. But one thing I will say is COVID is the time that I woke up. I woke up because of, you know, what was happening with our government. I wouldn't be a vocal conservative like I am today if it wasn't for what happened during that, you know, that time. And so what the enemy meant for evil, God turned it around for good. I don't know about you, but during COVID is when I started watching Officer Tatum. And at the time, Candace Owens and different conservative voices. And that's when my family started having conversations around the dinner table about politics and where we sided on those kind of things. And so, you know, Dr. Fauci did not stop good Americans, true American patriots. He only empowered us. And I know that God does not like evil, you know, and he does not like ugly. And I truly believe that Anthony Fauci will be held accountable. So that's the update on him. I'm surprised that he was even, I didn't know that this was happening, that this hearing happened. But when I saw it today, I said, yep, we're adding that to the list. And hopefully y'all know why. Now, I do want to talk a little bit more about Officer Tatum. He went on Jubilee, and some of you may have seen him on Jubilee. They posted his episode recently, and he sat down and he talked to 20 liberals. And let me tell you, they had a lot to say to him. I didn't watch every single one because I didn't have time for the negativity. You know, I have to watch what I consume. You know, you got to watch what you hear and what you see. And I report on the news almost daily. Okay. So sometimes, you know, as I've grown in my career, I've learned to kind of pull back sometimes and just say, let me just watch this clip, and then I'm turning it off and moving on to the next topic. Now, Officer Tatum had a conversation with this young lady, and I thought it was interesting and worth talking about, because I believe that she doesn't understand why we're conservative, why Black conservatives exist, and what we think and how we've been able to become successful and overcome the past. Now, I want you guys to take a look at this interaction here. Let's check it out. Didn't she just say that money was stolen from Black people. Now, her whole argument is that Black people are being held back because of slavery. And it's almost like she doesn't live in a country that has had a Black president, that has several Black millionaires. She's even sitting across from a Black millionaire. It's almost like she doesn't live in a country that's as free as that. I mean, this is the problem with a lot of Black liberals, is they're so stuck in the past that they don't live in reality. They can't see the world that's happening around them. Now, she's about to continue, and I want you to see her cut Officer Tatum off several times. Keep in mind that she's talking about Black wealth here. The best person to talk to about Black wealth is a wealthy Black person, don't you think? And she's sitting across from a very wealthy Black person. Officer Tatum is a millionaire. This is a great opportunity to ask real meaningful questions. Instead, she wants to focus on things she can't change. What is she talking about? The reason why he's bringing that up, because obviously when you talk about slavery, you have to talk about the slave trade. Okay, so obviously slavery was not just happening in America. It had started way before America had even existed. And if we want to be real as well, Black people were selling other Black people into slavery. So she has a big issue. She may need to talk to some of her ancestors about why they chose to sell, her family into slavery. If she's, if her family has been here that long. But that's not a conversation she wants to have, because in her mind, and this happens in a lot of Black liberal minds, is they think that they're the victim. And for whatever reason, they believe that they're winning by playing the victim. At some point, you've got to escape the matrix if you want to win. Now, if you don't want to win, continue to think like this, continue to act like this. But I don't know about you, but I want to win. So
you got it. You
say that money was stolen from Black people back in slavery time, because obviously Black people were not given the opportunity to make money. So how can you? This is why at some point you got to move forward, because we're no longer living in a time when Black people were considered 1/5 of a person, or 3/5 of a person. We're not living in a time like that anymore. And I've kind of talked about this repeatedly on the channel. America has paid for its sin. America fought a brutal civil war to rid itself of slavery. So in her ancestors, if she's Black American and has been here for several generations, her family, her ancestors fought hard for her to have the freedom to say what she's saying right now. And I believe that her ancestors may be rolling in the grave if they could hear. They would roll in the grave if they could hear what she's saying, because all they wanted was an opportunity to be successful, an opportunity to have the freedoms that everyone else has, the opportunity to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Her ancestors fought for that. And once they got the opportunity, some of them decided to take advantage of that opportunity and take initiative, and others of them decided to turn into victims. The choice is up to you. And that's what people have to understand. If Kevin Samuels could see this right now, he would be rolling in his grave. Now, if you used to watch Kevin Samuels like I did, you know what he probably would have told this lady. I can't say it on this channel, because if I said it, y'all would be like, wow, I can't believe you said that. But I'll just start it off. He used to say, put your up, okay? That's all I'm going to say. There's no reason to act this masculine. Ladies, this sort of behavior is not attractive. Now, I get it. She's not trying to impress Officer Tatum. But just a rule of thumb, when you're interacting with men, be respectful. Let them speak. If they're speaking, you're waiting for them to finish, and then you speak. because at the end of the day, it's just a respect thing. Okay? And I get it. She wants to get her point across, but you have to think about the big picture. A lot of people are watching this young lady. And I don't think she's realizing that. She's so focused on the argument that she's not thinking about her image. Okay? And so that's just a quick note there, because I did notice that, but we're going to continue. And also, before I forget, I want to mention this too. Everybody has a story. White people have a story just like black people have a story, and not every white person comes from wealth. There are a lot of white people who were poor. They didn't have anything. Maybe they grew up on a farm. I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories like that. People growing up on farms, poor, no money, and then becoming very wealthy. And it's because of their mindset, and they have discipline, and they take initiative. Same with some black people. Officer Tatum grew up, and he didn't have the most money, and now he's a millionaire. It's all about your mindset, the way you think, the way you carry yourself, the way you present yourself in public. Are you disciplined? Are you not? Are you someone who's willing to take risks and go above and beyond to meet, to accomplish your dreams? Wealth funnels down because people work hard. Somebody has to start the process. And let me back up for a second, because something popped up in my mind. Let's talk about what she just said for a second. If that's the case, then why are Africans coming over to America and dominating the markets? I'm talking about Africans who have come over here legally. Why are they doing much better than African Americans? It has nothing to do with wealth being passed down, because obviously a lot of them come over here and they don't have all the wealth in the world. They just simply view themselves as victors and not victims. And a lot of African Americans view themselves as victims. Also, another hindrance that a lot of African Americans are experiencing when it comes to wealth is they are growing up in broken homes, and then they're creating broken homes. When you grow up in a broken home, when you have kids out of wedlock, it makes it much harder to be successful. And that's why it's important to marry before you carry. That's why it's important not to go with what the crowd is telling you to do. Because the crowd, the majority of Black Americans are 80%, over 80% of them, around 80%, are having their children out of wedlock. And then they're asking for government handouts. The difference between Republicans and Democrats, the difference between conservatives and liberals, is conservatives believe in limited government. Liberals believe that the government should take care of people, because they believe that people don't have the ability to take care of themselves. And I don't believe in that, because I believe that we have agency. I believe that we were created in the image of God. And I believe that He gives us gifts and callings. And I believe that our gifts and callings make room for us and bring us before great men. That's what the Bible tells us. And so, because I believe that, I've learned how to cultivate my gifts. I personally did not come from a lot of money at all. My parents divorced when I was younger. I didn't come from a whole lot of wealth, but I had the right mindset. I understood that I needed community. I understood that I was not a victim regardless of my circumstances. I did not see color. I worked with everybody. I continue to work with everybody from all different backgrounds. And God continues to open doors. So many doors have opened that no man can shut. And it's because I believe in Imago Dei. We're all made in the image of God. There's so much opportunity, and it's all about our mindset. And so it's unfortunate, because this young lady right here is so very young. She's probably either my age or maybe a little bit older than me. I would assume probably maybe she's a couple years older. Yet our mindsets are so different. And I pray that she kind of opens up and she's willing to maybe look back on this conversation with Officer Tatum and say, you know what? It's not about being right. It's about how do we win? Because she's talking about how she's concerned about the Black community and wealth and stuff like that. Well, in order to fix your circumstances, you have to be willing to learn. And I think that that's the problem with some people, unfortunately, is they're not open, they're not willing, and they end up staying stuck. Unfortunate, so unfortunate. Keep in mind, let me show you kind of a view of these two. One person here is obviously younger, obviously is not as wealthy as Officer Tatum, has a whole lot to learn. Obviously, when you're younger, age equals experience. And so we have to learn over time. And then you have a person here who has obviously gotten to a point of success in his life. He's a millionaire. And it baffles me that this young lady had the opportunity to sit across from a Black millionaire and talk to him about wealth and ask him questions about how Black people can be more successful. And she chose to focus on the past. She chose to focus on things that she can't change. It just baffles me because that's a wasted opportunity. And so that's why I think it's so important to know Christ. Because when you know Christ, you understand that when you're in Christ, you're a new creation. The old has passed, the new has come. It's here. And so you can't judge people based off of the past, because at the end of the day, everybody has a past. And all the white people who are living today in America were not slave owners. Slavery has gone. It's passed away. And it's time to move forward. It's time to move forward. And I think it's unfortunate too, because Officer Tatum had a whole lot of good to offer. And I don't even think he was able to even get his point across. And he didn't even have an opportunity to make any good points because she just kept talking over him. And that's just disrespectful. It really is. And, you know, I'll be curious to hear what Kevin Samuels would have to say about that. I'm just saying. Talk about image, talk about Black wealth and success. This is a Black man you're sitting across from, right? So shouldn't you be respecting him? I mean, a whole nother conversation, right? Just saying. But anyways, let's move on. I want to talk to you a little bit about, actually, before I do that, let me say this really quick. If you would like to call into the show tonight, please be sure to email me at the tameranealyshow@gmail.com. I would love to hear from at least one or two of you tonight. So I want to kind of, encourage you to go ahead and send an email, and I'll send you the link at the end of the show. You'll be able to ask me about the topics that we covered today, and most importantly, I want to ask and talk to you guys about this next topic that we're about to get into, because Nolan Wells' parents' friend has come out, and he is talking a lot about what's really going on in Mississippi right now, and how even Black Mississippians are feeling about Nolan's parents' actions. Now, we have a lot to get into, but first I want to say this. As someone who has grown up around white people my entire life, I mean, I've went to school with white people, predominantly white schools. I've hung out with my white friends, their parents. I've dated white people. The list goes on. This racism that they're acting like is a big issue, I don't see it. Now, I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist at all, because we know that we live in a fallen world and racism is going to exist until the end of time, just like other sin issues are going to exist to the end of time because we live in a sinful, fallen world. With that being said, I do not believe that America is a racist country. And I'm not going to act as though we're still living in the past, as though we're still living in 1790, when I know good and well our country has come a far way. And when you know the history of this country and you see how far we've come, I think that, and if more people understood how far we've come, I think that it would change the way some people are acting in the media. It would change some of the things that people are saying on social media to begin with, because they would understand that hundreds of thousands of people died in order to end slavery in this country, in order to end the divide that we're seeing happening even right now. A lot of people put their lives on the line. White people, Black people, all for you. Also, you can have the opportunity to achieve your dreams, whatever your dreams are. A lot of people died for that. I think about my own background. My parents divorced when I was like 10 years old or something, like around 8 to 10 years old. We didn't have a whole lot of money. My mom raised me primarily, and my dad was raising me too, you know, in my teenage years, up until around my teenage years before, you know, that my parents stayed together a few years after their divorce. But anyways, they were together for 12 years total. And so, but we didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot of money or anything like that. But my dad thought it was very important to instill the desire for education and learning inside of me. And so my dad was my first teacher, and he taught me all the important things that I needed to know. And by the time I finished preschool, they were wanting me to move up to first grade because my dad had taken initiative and he had taught me everything that I needed to know. And so, you know, we didn't have a lot, but we had community. And I had people from all different backgrounds around me, both white and Black. And my parents taught me to treat everybody with respect and dignity. And I'm sure a lot of you all can relate to, you know, being raised that way as well. At the end of the day, we're all Americans, and that's how we should all view things. And it seems as though you have people in Mississippi who are thinking the same thing. And even Black Mississippians are upset with Nolan's parents because they are choosing to live in the past and they're not. Now, I want you to take a look at this interview with Don Lemon and and Nolan Wells' parents' friend, because he says a whole lot, and he even schools Don Lemon. Now let's check it out.
See, here's a lot of things that the people in the back of the room don't know. Yes, us locals, we are privy to a lot of things because we know these people. I gave Nolan his first haircut. I know his parents. Been knowing them for years. Been knowing his mom since she was like in high school. I'm real good friends with her family. So here's the deal. When that video came out, and you hear them people on there talking that lady dug up and went and researched and brought up the sounds. The truth is this: if that video is legit, it's a few people in trouble. Point blank, period. Point blank, period. Now, see, this is the stuff that you got to wait for. This type of evidence, right? Now, I'm going to help you out here. All right? I hear Bart and parents are suing. Bart's name was mentioned on the video. Okay? Well, I asked one of his friends, who was a Black guy, about Bart a few days ago. And they said that Bart was cleared already. And according to the Black people, They cleared Bart. I don't even know if the police cleared Bart. But it sounds like the black people that's involved cleared Bart. They said Bart ain't had nothing to do with it. But Bart's name is all over that tape. But if these black guys are telling the truth, then guess what? You see why his daddy's suing. And that's what I'm saying, people. He can't just be so quick to just do this type stuff, man. This stuff take time, bro. Investigation. I'm gonna tell you something, man. By the time it's all said and done, half of Ocean Springs might be going to prison, or half of Ocean Springs might be going on a vacation. You don't know yet, so just chill. And like I said, I know these people. I know they family. All right, we all been knowing each other, so ain't nobody on here taking up for nobody. I'm not looking out. I'm not looking out for nobody on here. I'm only speaking what I think is best to be spoken to keep the peace until the facts come out.
You know what?
Okay. So you heard him mention Bart. Bart is a young man who was on Horn Island when Nolan Wells, or with Nolan Wells on the 4th of July. And Bart has been experiencing a lot of threats. He's been doxxed. He's been harassed by leftists, by black people who are angry and believe that he killed Nolan Wells, even though there's no evidence to support that. Bart has been going through a lot. And as you just heard this man say, he talked to Nolan's friends and his black friend who said that Bart has nothing to do with this. So that is exactly why people need to watch what they're saying and putting out. Now, this is where the conversation gets real, is when he has this conversation with Don Lemon. Let's check it out.
Welcome. Thank you for joining the Don Lemon Show this morning. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Hey, I'm glad to be here with you. Just to clarify something, the Cutting With, that's my social media name, Cutting With E. So you could, my first name is Emmanuel, but that's my social media, Cutting With E on YouTube and IG and Facebook and all of that. But I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
So talk to me about, thank you for clarifying that, but we want to make sure that you get people know who you are, that they are on your social media and they watch because you have some good stuff. And also if they're there, that they, give you some business. I think that's fair in this, especially in this environment that we're in. So talk to me, Emmanuel, how do you know Nolan? Let's start with how you know Nolan Wells and his family. Okay.
Well, I've been knowing his mom since she was like in high school and whatnot. But I came, and his stepfather, we still work out in the same gym together right now. And I came to know Nolan through his, she had this lady babysitting him, and I'm real good friends with her son, Bingo. And they would bring him around, bring him to my barbershop all the time. And I gave him his first haircut. And we used to have him to say, every time he would leave, we would say, "What's your name?" And he would say, "Nolan Wells." And we all used to laugh at it. We used to make him say his name every single time, man. He was a funny little kid, man. That was what was up, though. But yeah, that's how I came to first know him, Yeah.
That's funny. And that's hilarious, because I said this in another video, but I've been watching like TikToks of Nolan, because every time I go on TikTok, if I swipe a few times, Nolan's content will come up, where his mom's content or somebody talking about the case. And he did really seem like he was a very funny person. Like, his videos really had me even cracking up.
Over the years, you watched him grow up?
Yeah, I watched him grow. I didn't see him for a period of time. And then he became a football player. And I used to go to his games and watch him play all the time. And, and his dad was a football player as well out of Morris Point. He went up to Mississippi State. And so I knew he was going to be a stellar athlete. You know what I'm saying? His dad working with him every day the way he was, everybody that come through his dad's training and stuff like that, all be pretty good athletes, And Nolan wasn't no difference. He was good. He was a great athlete. Had NFL potential, man. Had the right size and everything.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what is it like there? Wait, hold on. Before I get there, do you know the other kids involved? Do you know some of the friends?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead. How do you know them?
Well,
Don Lemon and his interviewing skills. All right, go ahead. It's like, okay, ask the question, Don.
with the recent ones that was on like TMZ, I spoke with him Friday night. I know one of the white guys and one of the pictures where it's quite a few of them, not one of the three on the boat. They were all in a collective group there. And me and his father, we're very good friends. We get up and have lunch about 2 or 3 times a week currently. Listen, man, I want to say this to you. I know it's probably not following your questionnaires, but that is a problem that we're having here. There's a lot of blacks right along with a lot of whites that are having this problem. When Ben Crump and Al Sharpton came to our state, I think one thing they did wrong was you can't come down here and start saying that our state is prejudiced. This is prejudiced place. This is the state that lynched and killed Emmett Till. Well, that was 71 years ago. Emmett Till was killed for looking and whistling at a white woman. These days, it's so many blacks having babies with white people. White men are marrying black women down here. We have so many sandy brown haired mixed babies running around down here. We are a gumbo down here. And another thing, Don, is we are a military community. That's how we got here. My dad is originally from Louisiana and my mom's New Orleans. And my dad was military. That's how I got here, through Keishler. And so we have Navy bases here and Air Force bases here. That's what we are. And it's a gumbo. Everybody, white people, try their best to not ruffle the feathers of black people, and black people try their best not to ruffle the feathers of white people for the majority of it. So when Ben Crump come to this town and start saying things like that, he's alienating these people and he's getting pushback now. That's why he's getting all this pushback. And it's going to me, it's hurting the whole entire investigation, which is why he's probably not getting a lot of help from people. To me, that's the deal. You cannot come in here and tell us how racist we are. Well, these people showing you how they hate you doing that type of stuff in our community, and he's going to get this type of pushback that he's getting.
Okay, can I jump in here?
No, you can't. Not yet. Come on, let's go ahead and give him some snaps, because, oh my gosh, I'm sure, I don't know about you, but I mean, he's saying everything that I've been thinking. Now, I don't live in Mississippi, but I live in America in 2026. So I can obviously observe my surroundings and make an informed decision based off of what I see around me. And I don't see a whole bunch of racism. I don't see that. And it's clear that Black Mississippians don't see that either. And they don't want people like Ben Crump coming into their town. But if you were just listening to Nolan's family, you would think that, oh, Mississippi is this racist place. If you were just listening to Ben Crump and Al Sharpton and his family, you would probably have that perception. But here, Nolan Wells' parents' friend is saying the truth, I think.
Okay. Now, look, I'm from Louisiana, so I know there's lots of mix. I mean, we are all, that's what Creole and mulatto is about. We've been mixing it up. We invented mixing it up in Louisiana,
Which
so I
is
understand
true.
what you're saying. But that doesn't end racism. Sometimes it heightens it, right? Because then there's a hierarchy, and then there's colorism, and then people say, well, I can't be racist because I'm married to a white person or whatever, or I'm married to a black person. And we know that that's not true. The other thing that sounds like, though, and I just want to
Don Lemon can't handle it. He can't handle it. He's talking faster now. He's talking faster. He can't handle this. But this man came prepared. I'm telling y'all, he's not about to back down. Let's keep watching.
It's all, it was like, it kind of sounds like back in the civil rights movement when people would say these outside agitators are coming here and telling us what to do, and we don't want race mixing here. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I understand how people may feel, but sometimes I just want you to take this into account. Sometimes it takes, and I'm not saying they're doing this, but just to think about this, sometimes it takes someone who comes from the outside to hold up a mirror so that you can see what's happening, because sometimes you're too close for the forest to see the trees. All right.
Okay.
What does that even mean? So you're telling me that in order for someone to know when racism is happening, is they've got to come from another town to tell you if there's racism happening in your town? That doesn't even make sense. If people are living with other people, around other people, they themselves are able to determine what they see. Don Lemon just doesn't like the fact that not everybody's living in the past. That's what he has an issue with. Keep in mind, he has a white husband.
So I'm not saying that doesn't exist, that people shouldn't feel that way, but I think that people should have an open mind about it, because that's what civil rights leaders did back in the day.
Well,
okay, go on.
We do. I'm for them coming to find justice, but you cannot walk into this town claiming it's racism. All these same state that killed Emmett Till, these racist white people. When that eulogy, I was at the funeral. That eulogy had to be, and just so I was sitting up, you can see this is his obituary. So that eulogy had to be the hardest eulogy for Al Sharpton. When you walked in this church and you saw 30% of the church is white.
Wow.
These are his friends. These are all the people he hang out with. Here's what I'm saying, Don. It's like in this generation, it's like we're still charging cases like we're in the 60s when something happens here. I'm not saying a white man did not kill Nolan. What I'm saying is,
well, we don't know that. I'm not going there.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm saying it could be over something else. It may be over a girl.
Right.
Why does race have to lead every time? Why are we leading this investigation with race? Because that's where you're upsetting everybody. And it's when you're saying race, when he's been hanging with them same white guys all his life. And
I have an explanation for you.
Even Don Lemon's assistant has called him out for this in an indirect way. And even Don Lemon's assistant, who comes on the show sometimes, he's like a correspondent or something like that and helps him with the show, has even said, don't just automatically assume that just because these young men are white that they killed Nolan Wells. That's not fair. A lot of people are expressing this, but Don Lemon doesn't want to accept it. A lot of black people are saying this.
About why, possibly. Because when the photographs came out initially, it was just Nolan with all white people, right? And he's and so the world, this is not just Ben Crump. The family asked Ben Crump to come in. It's not like he volunteered to do this, okay? So, and not that I'm defending Ben Crump. I'm just sort of explaining to you why why people think race is involved or why it's involved. First of all, let's just be honest, Emmanuel. We know the history of the country. We do know the history of Mississippi. And one of the best indicators of what the present is and possibly the future is the history, right? Of something, the history of your medical thing. You heard Al Sharpton say that at the funeral. When you go into the doctor and you say, this hurts or I have this ailment, and they go, what medication are you taking? What's your family's medical history? Okay, so you have that history in Mississippi. Not everybody lives in Mississippi. And so the people who...
Imagine if God thought about us like this and he decided if he loved us based off of our history. We would be so far apart. Like that's not Christ-like. We know that you can't judge somebody based off of something someone else. Like you shouldn't judge someone based off of something their family did or their quote unquote ancestors did, which we know that not all white people own slaves. It's not fair to them. And you wouldn't like it if the coin was flipped. So don't do that to other people. But here you go, Don Lemon being a social justice warrior. He doesn't want to deal with that reality of how it would feel if it was happening on the, white people were doing that to black people. He doesn't want to deal with that. He doesn't even want to mention that.
Who are on the internet, the people who don't live in Mississippi, they see a black guy with all white guys and they go, oh, he's the only one that didn't come home. The history of Mississippi, blah, blah, blah. So people start putting two and two together, and that's why race is involved in this, because that is the history of America. Now, whether race played a role in his demise.
We already talked. I rebuke what he just said in Jesus' name. I rebuke you, because that is not of God. Not of God. Now, we've already talked about the fact that our nation has already paid for its sin. Now, we know that Jesus Christ ultimately paid it all. Okay? He died on the cross for all of us so that we can come and have life more abundantly. We know that. But let's talk about America for a second. We didn't have that Civil War for no reason. And I don't want a Civil War 2.0. America has dealt with that. And we have taken steps. Every single generation has gotten better and better and better and better. And you mean to tell me that you're still holding America accountable for something that happened 200 years ago? That doesn't make sense. And that's the thing, is people need to understand that a nation is built off of people. It's made up of people, and people are not perfect. But we do have something that is very good. This American experiment that we have is very good. Our founding fathers were brilliant men. I mean, they were highly intelligent people. And some of you may not know this, but in the first draft of the Declaration of Independence, they said they didn't want slavery in America. However, they just tabled it because they thought eventually America would deal with slavery, and they wanted the Declaration of Independence to pass through Congress. And so this was something that even since the beginning, the founding fathers even knew it was wrong. And eventually, by the time Abraham Lincoln came around, he went ahead and signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which led to the 13th Amendment being passed. And I mean, now Black people are free, women are free to vote. There's nothing holding anybody back because we all have opportunities. And this man right here on the right, he knows that, and he understands what we have is good. And we have to preserve it because we know freedom is fragile.
No one knows that. No one knows that. But there is no denying that race plays a part in this case simply because of the optics. That's where the race part came in. That may be offensive to some people there, but the truth is often offensive. That is the reality in America. Yeah, yes, sir. You can ask me. We're here to have a conversation.
Okay. When Emmett Till was killed in 1955, I believe it was, he died for whistling and simply looking at a white woman. Now we have went from there to making babies with these white women. When does that go out of the window for, as you know, this racial component of Mississippi history years ago? How can we accept that history when it comes to
you can accept it by acknowledging the problem. You accept it by acknowledging the problem and acknowledging the reality of the history of the country. You accept it by saying, I understand why people think race is involved. I understand why. I understand why people do it, but what I'm saying is it a fair assessment for us? Of course it's a fair assessment.
We have nothing but a bunch of We have nothing but mixed kids running around down here.
But just because you have mixed kids, because you have mixed kids, it doesn't mean that you're not racist.
But Don,
it doesn't mean that
dying now. Back then they died for looking at her. Now we're sleeping with them and having kids and nobody's dying.
Let me ask you this, Emmanuel. Do you know why Nolan died or how?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right.
So I'm for an investigation. That's why I say.
So because he doesn't know how Nolan died, we have to assume that Nolan died because of racism. I mean, make it make sense. Also, he made a good point. Black and white people are sleeping together and everything else, having children together, making love together, getting married. My cousin is married to a white man. You know, like, what are we talking about? I have family members who are biracial. Let's be real. Like, this man is making a good point. What do y'all think?
I'm for Al and them coming here and investigating, but Don, what I'm saying is, I don't think he should have led with this strong racial, the same people who killed Emmett Till. And I mean, that was almost 100 years ago. And we're now sleeping with white women, and white men are now sleeping with black women, creating babies with these people, man. I mean,
but that doesn't mean that racism. I think that your idea of what racism isn't necessarily calling people the N-word or beating them up. It is a system that is based on superiority and history and present, and sometimes people who are in relationships with people of a different ethnicity or a different background, they still have not dealt with racial issues. And sometimes, sometimes the love for people of a different ethnicity is a similar love, especially for blacks and whites, all right? Especially of a certain generation. It's the same sort of love that you have for a pet.
What? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I listened to this earlier while I was driving to the gym. And when he said that part, I was like, are you serious? Like, what world are we living in? That is so disturbing, first of all, to even say. Second of all, Don Lemon needs to speak for himself and his relationship, because clearly there's some projection going on. He may be experiencing that with his quote-unquote husband, his quote-unquote white husband. But not everybody's experiencing that. There are white and black couples who are loving each other and providing for each other, doing, great. And racism isn't even an issue. I mean, it just kind of doesn't make sense, because why would you be married to somebody if you're racist toward their group? I just don't understand. It's just crazy. And comparing white people's love for black people to pets is just another level of just bizarre.
Where you are, I'm serious, where you love them, you protect them, you pay for everything, but it doesn't mean it's the same love that you have for a human being. It's kind of that, okay, I understand that. In America, the reason that we have this is because we don't deal in a fulsome way with race. We're not honest about it. And we think that racism is something where it is overt. It's not always overt. And there are people who came up through the civil rights movement, and people who were discriminated against, they're still here. And the people who were part of the Klan, there's a huge Ku Klux Klan contingent in this country. There are people who are part of the Proud Boys who said that they're racist.
I've literally met one of the leaders, the former, I think he was like a founder or something, of the Proud Boys, Enrique. You all have seen him on the channel. Does it look like Enrique is a racist? Does it look like it? And the reason why I say does it look like it, because obviously if you saw him, that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. So Don Lemon does not know what he's talking about. The problem is he doesn't have social cues. He doesn't know how to communicate with people. This is a lack of communication issue. And a lot of people are experiencing that in today's culture, in our world today, in our country today, where they themselves don't know how to communicate with people. And because they don't know how to communicate, they say that it's racism. It's that person is treating them racist. That group is treating them racist. That organization is treating them racist. And that organization could not even be treating them racist. But because they don't have social cues, they're not socially aware, they don't have good communication skills. They don't know how to interpret communication between themselves and others. And something that I've noticed about Don Lemon, and maybe you picked up on this as well, and this is not a dig at him or anything, but this is just an observation. Something that I've noticed about him is even when he's on his show, he doesn't make eye contact with people. He rarely makes eye contact. He's always kind of looking down. He may get on his phone. Even when he's talking down like this. So he's not comfortable looking at people. And I noticed this on multiple of his shows. So really what I think I'm hearing is more of a communication issue than a race issue that he has with other people. And I'm hearing some projection because obviously he's feeling some type of way, and it may be about the person that he's with, which, maybe that's a whole nother conversation. But are y'all hearing this too? Are you seeing this too? Let me know in the comment section.
People are part of the new neo-Nazis. They say they are racist, and they are open with it. So, and a lot of that comes from the South, from Louisiana, where I am, and from Mississippi. And if you go there, if I can drive 5 minutes from where you are and find a person who's involved in one of those groups and a person who's in that community. So don't tell me that racism is stamped out in Mississippi and where you are because people are sleeping together. First of all, people have urges, and people used to sleep with each other on plantations.
Which is true.
I'm just saying, the master used to sleep with the people on the plantation, women insanity. And men.
Right. I mean, I was out. Here's what I want.
This is insanity. There's a difference between just sleeping with, a master sleeping with his slave and a husband sleeping with his wife, or a wife sleeping with her husband. Obviously, there's love involved in a wife sleeping with her husband and a husband sleeping with his wife. Let's be real. It's not the same thing. And he knows what Emmanuel is talking about.
It's all about urge. That's a lot about urge, and you need to get your freak on.
And
I'm just saying some of that.
I think that's slightly different topic than what I was speaking of. Like this Saturday, I was out at dinner, man, and everybody in the restaurant was mixed. I mean, I see a black woman here with a Mexican guy, and they got 2 kids, 16 to 17 years old. I mean,
of course, that happens everywhere.
That's how we are down here.
I know that. I'm from the South. I've been saying that people in the South, black people and white people, integrate more than they do in the North. But that's mostly about socioeconomics. It doesn't mean that racism is solved. It's because basically those people who live together are the same part of the socioeconomic group. So if you are mostly middle-class people and you have grown up there, you are going to pretty much be together in the same places. But here in the North, it is about rich people who are all together. Most of them mainly are white because that's sort of, generational wealth. Most black people didn't have the opportunity to do that. But here in the North, it is more polarized than it is in the South. The South, I think, used to be segregated, but people are more polarized here in the North than they are in the South.
And now I know you can
see now he has to make it into a North and South thing because he's trying to basically discredit Emmanuel's perspective. Does any of what Don Lemon just said make any sense? Why would a white man in 2026 be married to a married to a black woman in 2026 if he's a racist? Does that make any sense? I mean, let's be real. Let's really talk about this. Let's examine what Don Lemon is even talking about. Because I'm telling you, I am just like, wow. There's no way around racism in his mind.
On that better than most, because you from the South and you've been living all over. You've been living in the North, so I can understand.
Not only am I from the South and living in the North, my family just left here, and we had a long discussion about this, and a long discussion about people who believe that racism is over, or just because people what they're called, there's race mixing. That's what the racists used to call it back. But people who are marrying interracial marriage, they think that racism is over because of that, and it's not. But it doesn't mean that it is as bad as back in Emmett Till. We make progress.
People is going to always be with us. There's nothing you can do about that. That's why Jesus Christ suffered, bled, and died for that very same thing. Is because racist people going to walk amongst you. But who really cares about the quiet racist? He's a racist and he's quiet and he don't say nothing about it.
Hold it. Let's give him his stance a little bit. Come on. Yep. Okay, now he's gonna derail a little bit. He's gonna go off course for a little bit, then he'll come back. I am curious to hear what y'all think about what he's about to talk about, because this conversation is going to continue to go down the rabbit hole until they have technical difficulties. Then they come back again and keep talking. And this is a conversation that I think is worth listening to. And I want to talk to you guys about, I want to hear your perspective. So I would love for you all to call in. You can email me at the tameranealyshow@gmail.com. I'm going to take hopefully 1 to 2 callers. Right now, I don't have anybody who's emailed me, so you could be the first caller. So be sure to email me. And also, you'll have to have your camera on, well-lit background so we can see you. Obviously, you're on a show, so please be professional. But I'd love to talk to you guys about this very topic, because this is why I decided to go live today, because I was like, this is crazy. And look at Don Lemon's face right here. I mean, I might have to put this on a thumbnail or something. Like, oh my goodness, he can't believe what he's hearing.
Over there, if he not bothering you, he can be racist over there. As long as he don't come and shove it down my throat, I don't care what he is over there, right? He's not affecting me. If he ain't affecting me.
You don't know that.
But
you don't know what that quiet racist is doing. You don't know who he's influencing. You don't know what kids and grandkids he's influencing. You don't know that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
you don't know who he's supporting. Maybe he's sending money to the Klan. You don't know.
But when I'm speaking of quiet, I'm talking about the ones who just keeping it to himself. You know what I'm saying? If he's quiet with it, I agree with what you're saying right there. I agree with that.
Emmanuel.
If he's helping people be racist, that's a problem. And when I'm speaking,
but how do you know that if he's quiet about it? Quiet is kept. You know what quiet is kept is, right?
Hey, I'm just saying, man. If you got a health problem and it don't show, it don't show up on this blood result, then good deal.
And then eventually one day.
See, this is where I say he goes a little bit off that wasn't a good example. I'm just gonna have to take that, but I get it. Emmanuel is cooking Don Lemon right now. Go ahead and let him cook.
Even if it doesn't show up, even if you don't know about it, it's still going to kill you.
But here's my main thing, though.
Yes.
And I want to speak on what you just said.
Yes, sir.
I believe the world and Hollywood did this to us down here in the South. They have made everybody in the North, East, West think that we so prejudiced down here, when none of that is true, man. It is not. It's not saying that there's no prejudiced people here, but you cannot just keep saying that.
How did Hollywood convince people that what happened in the South and what's happening in the South that's real is, how does that Hollywood? Hollywood is just projecting what's happening.
Because when they make their movies, that's how they show it. They project
movies?
us. Every racial movie, everything
what movies
that come through here.
Did you watch Django?
Yeah, I watched that.
Okay, did you think that wasn't real? A lot of this stuff is based on truth.
I'm not saying that wasn't real. But
do you remember when we were growing? How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 46.
Do you remember Miss Jane Pittman? Do you remember that story? Did you watch Roots in elementary school?
Yes, I did.
All right, so that was Hollywood doing that?
No, listen, man. This is what I'm trying to say.
He's laughing like he doesn't understand what propaganda is. He worked for CNN. Don Lemon knows exactly what Emmanuel was talking about, because he himself has been engaging in propaganda, even throughout the Nolan Wells case and before that. Don Lemon knows exactly what he means, but he's profiting off of it. He's monetizing off of it. He monetizes off of said racism and being a social justice warrior. So, of course, he's not going to want to acknowledge reality and what we're all seeing, which is the fact that most of us are living together in harmony. We're united. We're not worried about, race. We're thinking about, hey, can I be friends with this person? Do they have my values? Are we on the same page? Okay, cool. Let's be friends. Let's get married. Like, that's what most of us are thinking about. We're not thinking about, racism and what happened in 1960, what happened in 1945. Okay. Even my great grandma will tell you that we have so much more opportunities today than even she had. And she tells me that when I see her. She tells me 2 things. Tamera, please always be comfortable wearing your natural hair, because my great grandma one of my great grandmas, she didn't have like super like long natural hair, or she couldn't wear it out because of some reason. And so she would tell me, wear your natural hair, and also I'm so proud of you. Look at all the opportunities you have. She was so excited when I got to study abroad and all these things. She's like, she could only dream of that when she was young. And and now look at where we are. Just 2 generations past her. It's just amazing how far we've come.
Hollywood will take something that may be true, or Hollywood will take something that's not true and make you think it's true by keep putting that in your head. That's their job.
How are they putting something in your head that is, if it's based on reality or a true story?
But
so do you think
it
that
might
the
have
image
used to been based on reality and a true story? But you cannot keep coming down here telling the world that, listen, man, people comment in my comments all day about how racist we are down here. People, we don't move like that. We really, because here's what I think, Don, and you should know this better than anybody. Because there was a problem here in Mississippi, a big problem in Mississippi with racism. These days, people try not to step on each other's toes because they don't want it to come across as we still have that problem.
Okay, Emmanuel,
even though they might not want you to marry their daughter, but that's his personal
This is where I was
preference.
like, okay, goes off the rails again. You may agree or disagree with him on this part. This is something I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on it. But this is a little, let me rewind for a second so you can hear him say it in its entirety.
Even though they might not want you to marry their daughter, but that's his personal preference. That don't make him is that not his personal preference? If a black man chooses for his daughter to be married to another black man because that's what he is, does that make that black man prejudiced? No,
yes,
that's
it does.
his preference.
Yes,
No.
it does.
So
oh my
a
gosh,
person can't prefer something?
Okay, let me tell you what.
What do y'all think about
did I
that?
lose him? Are you still there?
I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I can't see you for some reason. I lost you on the thing. Okay, let me oh, here it is. Let's make sure it's not. I can't see you.
Okay, so this is where they have technical difficulties. Let's come back right here.
Hopefully you're back. Okay, great. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Okay, so Emmanuel, I don't even know where to start when you're talking about someone who doesn't want. Yeah, that's bias. That's prejudice. If someone doesn't want, because it shouldn't be about race. You should be about you. If you're a father, you should be about who your daughter loves, whether you're a black man, a white man, or whoever. And so to say that if I don't want my daughter to marry a white man and I'm a black man, yeah, that's bias. That's racial bias.
So you can't have a preference for what cake or what car you prefer? Does that mean that you're prejudiced against?
Well, you can't compare cars. You can't compare cars to people. That's not the same thing. Come on.
So you're saying people are not allowed to have a preference? That don't mean a preference.
You're allowed to have a preference, but if the preference is based on race, that's problematic.
No,
because
it may not.
We're all humans. If you like people, some people like dark-haired people, some people like light-haired people. But if you discount an entire race, that's racism.
No. If a man,
what do y'all think about that? I'm curious to know what y'all think, because, just let me know your thoughts. I'll be reading the comments.
Says, I want somebody that looks like me or resemble me to marry my daughter, that does not mean that person is
not your decision.
Racist.
That's not your decision.
Yeah, we know it's not his decision. But he didn't say that. Decision. I didn't say anything that person would not accept another race come marry his daughter. God. I'm just saying it does not mean that a person is racist if he wants.
Are you in the sunken place? If a black
man wants his daughter to marry another black man, that does not make him a racist. And the same with a white guy. If a white guy wants his daughter to marry a white guy,
look, I'm going to move on. Let me just say this.
I saw somebody's comment, and I don't want to read it, but it was kind of funny. I will say that. Oh my God. Y'all have me cracking up. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all.
I'm going to move on because I want to talk about you.
Okay.
It's exactly what I said to you in the beginning of this. You're too close to it to even understand what it is. First of all, it's not that dad's decision about who his daughter marries. That's the point. That is actually misogyny, right? The fact that you think that you can control or you should control who your daughter marries, and the fact that you don't understand that.
Control it. I didn't say he can control it. She can pick.
Oh God.
That. No, here's where the racism come in. If his daughter brings home a certain person of another race, and then he says, "I don't want him in here," after that's what she chose, yeah, that's racist. I agree with you.
No. That's not. That's racism. That's aggression. But him preferring someone of another preferring someone of his race, that is racism. I am preferring someone of my own race. That is the definition of racism. Now, if he gets aggressive with the other guy, that's aggression and violence. But to say, if you look up the definition of racism, it is preferring, in that definition, someone of your own race.
So when
Don Lemon is sitting here acting like he's now the moral clarity in the conversation. He hasn't been giving moral clarity this entire time. Now he wants to sit here and act like he has some sort of grounds here. No, Don Lemon, we need to address and talk about the racism that you've been displaying on your show every single day, especially in the Nolan Wells case most recently. We need to talk about that. But he wants to deflect here. He's got to make himself seem like he's better than Emmanuel. Oh no. I'm not buying into this.
When are you allowed
Okay,
to
so
have a preference? When are you allowed to have a preference?
I gotta go. You can't have a preference. Everybody has a preference, but that's not racism.
But racism is totally different than a preference. If he prefers,
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Like even like
oh my gosh, I'm not gonna.
Hey, let's try not to. Shout out to my mods, first of all. Thank you so much, mods, for being here tonight. I have amazing mods. I love my mods. Mods, please be sure to give people warnings before deleting their messages, just because I do want to allow everybody to have conversations. And not everyone has to agree with, what I'm saying or what someone else is saying, as long as they're being respectful. That's all I ask, okay? I just want, everybody to be included and obviously, be able to kind of reply and talk to people. So please, just keep that in mind. Thank you, mods. You guys are the best.
Go on with this. I'm gonna send you someone who can talk to you better about this, and it's Eddie Glott. I'm gonna give you your number. But I think that you're too close to it, that you don't understand. And people there don't understand what actual racism is because they're too close to it. It's not sleeping with someone. It's not having mixed kids. That's all. That is not, you are in the whole other realm.
He prefers not to date a black woman. He prefers to marry an Asian woman. So does that make him prejudiced against black people?
Yes, it makes him prejudiced against black women.
Huh?
Oh my goodness.
If his mother and sister is
I don't
black,
even know
that's
where we are at
that
this
he
point.
chooses to like Asian women.
Yes,
or
that's
white
what racism
women
is.
Or Indian women.
That's what racism is. That's the definition of racism.
Well, I guess we got a different definition of racism.
Nope.
This conversation has gone completely off the rails. I've lost track of where they are at this point.
The whole thing
that you out there trying to kill us. It's systemic racism.
No, that's violence. That's violence, and that is breaking the law. Racism. Who is that noise? Racism is exactly.
That's
you, Don.
Notifications.
Oh, that's
no,
him?
that's not me. Yeah, that's him. That racism is exactly what you said. That is. That's racism. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, so let's move on because we're not going to solve that here.
At least we having a good time, man.
I'm having a good time because you
see that conservatives, we can have a good time and disagree. That's the difference between conservatives and liberals. Even though I think Don here is being overall respectful, even though he's going to throw some shade a little bit later after Emmanuel gets off the call. Even though we see how he's acting passive aggressive and all that, at least he's being somewhat respectful. But in general, we know how liberals get. I mean, we saw earlier when we were watching that video of Officer Tatum and 20 other liberals that they don't like when you disagree with them. But this seems like a friendly conversation, and I'm glad we could all have some laughs while talking about something that is obviously serious and, pressing at this time on our country, because we are having this conversation, which is surprising because it's 2026. I would think that by now we would have moved past this, and we had moved past this. If you talk to people who are, my age, and I'm only 24, and I still remember a time when race wasn't even brought up, like it wasn't a huge deal. It's only been brought up here recently in the past, probably since COVID, it seems to have heightened, BLM 2020. That's when all of a sudden BLM, Black Lives Matter, and, burn down the buildings, and white people are this, and white people are the oppressors. And it kind of goes back to the college institutions. In the universities, they are institutionalizing this sort of propaganda. The propaganda that Don Lemon doesn't want to acknowledge here, that he is he's contributing to. I remember when I was in college, and this was back in, I remember when I first started college, and I was surprised by the essays that they were wanting us to write. And I would find myself so frustrated with professors and even other classmates who were so bent up on racism and all these leftist agendas and all that. And if you really take time to think about those things and what they do to you, they can make you an unhappy person. They can make you think that the world is against you and that you're all alone, and you can't rely and trust anybody because everybody's untrustworthy. That's what that sort of mindset and that sort of ideology does to people. Emmanuel and Don Lemon are two totally different people, and you can just tell that just by observing them. Emmanuel seems so happy. Don Lemon seems a bit like he's miserable, if I'm being honest. And misery loves company. So,
keep making the argument against yourself every time you open your mouth. And I'm wondering, I'm like, are you in the sunken place? I think you might be in the sunken place, Emmanuel. I think you're in the sunken place. Okay, look, I've got a quickly, I have to get off because I have an 11 o'clock appointment. However, I'm going to bring in our correspondent, Daniel Grimes, who actually called you to do the interview. Daniel, real quickly, because you have to get off. This is fascinating, right?
Fascinating. And I want to pivot because a lot of this conversation has focused on the one area that, I feel like Don, you and Emmanuel disagree. But let's pivot back because Emmanuel, you and I chatted and you said, right, you've spoken to the kids there. You've spoken to, Nolan's family, and you know both sides to this. So can you just speak a little bit about? I think a lot of people want to know. Those kids are not talking. You've talked to them. What is their theory on what happened to Nolan?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what they told me this past Friday night. They said they don't know what happened, but they do believe in their heart that something happened to him. And they said they don't really want to talk to people anymore. And I was glad you brought that in because I was going to mention this to Don a second ago. They saying that they don't like the way that the reason why they really don't want to give interviews anymore. They don't like the way that the outside people has been treating Black Mississippians. I'm just telling you what they say. Mm-hmm. They say they're not believing what we're saying.
See how they're laughing at him, trying to play it off like, oh, what he's saying isn't true. No, you need to take in these observations. I mean, Don Lemon wants to hear from the public, and then he's hearing from the public, and then he acts like this. Like, multiple people have told him this at this point.
They think that we this racist place down here, and so we don't really want to give them interviews anymore. That's exactly what was told to me this past Friday night.
But going back to your point, so you said that they think something happened to Nolan.
Yeah.
What do they think happened?
You said he said they don't know what happened, but what are do they have any ideas? Are they giving you any theories?
Yeah, they were there.
No. One of them told me that they gave to the police about a week or so ago the last two people Nolan was seen with. One was a girl, one was a guy. And I won't be giving their names, of course, because I don't need nobody trying to sue me. But that's what I was told. That it was a guy and a girl that they was last seen with on the island. And I want to say this too about the lady that took that video and chopped it up and was able to pull up. If that video is true, Don and Daniel, if that video there is true, it's a lot of people in trouble in Ocean Springs. It's a lot of people voices on there. Now, a lot of people are debunking it, saying that she's lying, it's AI, it's wrong. Where she got that straight from, I think it was on YouTube. She said she pulled it off of YouTube from the.
That's what she said, but I also heard from other sources that 2 minutes were added. I'm hearing different things, and I presented that information to you all in previous videos. I want to know what y'all think about that. Do you think that the audio examiners who are presenting this audio to the public, this most recent Nolan Wales Friends tow company audio to the public, do y'all think that they are being honest about it, or do you think that they tampered with the audio? Something about it is just not right to me. They put, the lady, I can't remember her name. I think it's Janita. She put words on the screen. And obviously, when you're reading words and you're listening to something, you're going to be listening for those words. And so I don't know if that was necessarily, I don't think that was the best way to handle that. And I heard that 20 seconds was added, and she doesn't have the proper credentials to do what she did. So no. And then Nancy Grace, she's been kind of all over the place too. So
towing company, whatever.
From Nancy Grace.
She wasn't, look, she's not here to defend herself, but what she did say, but as she was putting the video out, is that this is my interpretation. It should not be the only interpretation, and it should not be taken as fact. Are 100% fact. So I think, she made her case, but I don't think people are believing that. People are having confirmation bias about what they're hearing or not hearing on the tape. Some people say, I don't hear anything. And some people legitimately don't hear anything. Right. And some people do. So
one thing I think that she did say was the name Bart. Well, she heard that from somewhere because she don't know nobody out there. And it was a Bart out there. So it may be some credence to what she's saying. You know what I'm saying? Because what I'm hearing is Bart's father is suing people for, slander. And according to the black guys that was around in the surrounding situation, they cleared Bart.
So you've talked to people who know Bart?
Yeah. And they were black. These were black guys.
And were they out on Horn Island, or how are they able to clear Bart?
This particular black guy, he was at the house that night, and he did see Nolan car keys on the table. That's what he told me.
He was out at the house July 4th night.
Right.
You said he saw his keys on the table. Right. Where back at their apartment?
At one of them house. Yes, back at one of them house. I don't know whose house they was at.
Is it in Ocean Point? Where do they live?
Ocean Springs.
Ocean Springs. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
All right.
But I don't know no more details on that. That's just what I was told. And I'm just repeating what I'm told, and take it with a grain of salt or take it however you want to,
What do you think happened?
Let me tell you something. I've been asked that question so many times, even on other national radio talk shows and whatnot.
Have y'all seen him on other news platforms, or because this is my first time seeing him? So I'm curious as to where else he's been.
I can't. It's so much stuff coming out, so many different variables, man. I can't say what happened, and I'm not willing to say what I think partially happened. But it's a movie, a Netflix series.
A movie. See, this is the problem with people, is they're comparing reality with movies. We have to live in reality, okay? And I think that when it comes to this case, and you have to kind of think about America in general. America has we have the number one entertainment industry in the entire world. People from all around the world consuming our entertainment. We're really good at that. So I have to give our country credit when it comes to that. But we've gotten to a point where people are wanting to be so entertained that they are rejecting the truth, and they're creating lies in order to produce entertainment, and that's dangerous.
Honor, I don't know if you ever seen that, But if you haven't, you'll see it. It's real life. If something did happen, I got to go back to that lady's video. If that is the truth, then we looking at a lot of cover up here. But here's the other side to this. I know the sheriff. I know Mike.
You know Ledbetter.
Right. I know Mike Ezell. He was the sheriff, and he's now a sitting congressman. It's hard for me to believe those guys gonna turn a blind eye when if it was any foul play. I just don't see that man walking away. Now, did he speak prematurely? I believe once they found his body, I believe it looked like a drowning when you first take a look at it. But what sparked suspicion is when the mom, Christine, started making phone calls about what happened to my son, how this happened, whatever. Then she started getting mom is the word. Well, that sparked suspicion. Well, that is a problem now. Now, the sheriff did already put out his statement that they believed it was a drowning because that's at the first initial eyesight. And Don, I'm gonna say this to you, and Daniel, this case has taken on its own thing that nobody believed would have ever happened.
Something just kind of funny happened when he said, and Daniel, I don't know why, but how he said it was just kind of funny to me. I just kind of was like, I don't know. It's kind of
happened. And I believe if we had to start this case over, I believe you'll see a whole nother different case. You know, we all Monday morning quarterbacking, even the sheriff, everybody that's involved. I don't believe that Ben Crump and Al would come down to Mississippi and say the same things and act the way they did. Because if you notice, he changed his stance. He changed up.
He did. He kind of changed a little bit.
You haven't.
See, they got to laugh again, but he is right. Ben Crump has changed how he's presenting himself to the public slightly. And we saw that on his most recent interview on Don Lemon's show, actually, when he was in the car. And he was talking about, the case, and he was basically saying, yeah, actually, we're grateful that Nolan's friend's dad donated or, has put up $50,000 and, is helping us get to the bottom of it. He was saying stuff like that. And I think a part of that is because he may be getting sued in the future for how he's been treating Nolan's friends. But I see why Emmanuel's bringing that up.
You don't know Al Sharpton.
But still, Al Sharpton and Ben Crump.
But anyway, go on. Go on. I don't want to argue about it. Go on.
Right when Al came to the funeral, when Ben Crump come down here and did a press conference in our city right next to me, he was saying, let's wait on the facts and the evidence. See, Don, you being a powerful black man, you could actually help the atmosphere down here in South Mississippi.
You want me to come down?
Say again?
You want me to come down there?
I was going to invite you down. I wanted you to see how we live as people down here together. Then call me. I'm going to take you around. The other to calm the climate. To calm the climate.
Well, yeah. The other thing I think you could help us do, if John were to go down, and another reason why I feel like your voice and your perspective is important is because Sheriff Ledbetter, and when we chatted, you said, listen, I don't think Sheriff Ledbetter would hide things for anybody, but also you acknowledged that what a lot of people are acknowledging, which is Ashley Cole is a prominent judge in the area, and they all know each other, and it very well is a possibility that they are covering something up. Can you speak to that as well?
Well,
see, they gotta put that.
You just never know, man. People that know one another, they know one another. Could it be? And I hate to stand on the soapbox and say he ain't gonna do nothing wrong because he's human. John could be flawed. He can do something wrong that he regret, and he can do something wrong. So I'm not going to take that aspect away from him and just say, oh, he's Jesus Christ. I can't do that because he's not Jesus Christ.
Sounds reasonable. I mean, that's a reasonable statement right there. We're all human. We're all flawed. None of us are perfect. So it's possible that mistakes could happen or people could be participating in a cover-up, but is it probable? I don't think so in this case as far as Ashley Cole goes, which is Warren's stepmother, and the reason why I don't think that is because she has been compliant. First of all of his friends have been complying with police. Also, she's been providing evidence to support the fact that she's reached out to Nolan Well's mom, she's been trying to help the family. Her husband has even put up $50,000. I don't think they would be doing all of that if they were participating in a cover up. And let's be real, Nolan's friends were not on that island when Nolan came up missing. So we know that as of now. Even TMZ has confirmed that. So we need to focus on reality here.
You know what I'm saying? We all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So is it possible? Yes, it is possible. But to ask me, I don't
think you said that part right. It's ask me. To ask me. I'm probably saying it wrong now because I'm in the moment, but it's not to ask. However they say it. I hear other people say it like that. That's not how you say it.
Cover anything up, because I'm gonna tell you something. The FBI is involved. The FBI does not have a problem with arresting a sitting judge.
Yeah, somebody wrote it in the comment section. He said asked, or whatever, and that's not how you say it. But he's a good person, so But I just notice other people say that too, and I'm just like, well, I don't know. It's like when people say they're finna do something, like that's not a word. Okay, that's not a word. I can't. That's something that when I was a kid and I heard my classmates saying it or somebody I knew saying it, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna adopt that because that doesn't sound proper. I'm about to do something. I'm about to go do XYZ. Not, anyways. Another story.
Knew something, and she played a part in aiding and abetting. If she played a part in aiding and abetting, she's looking at jail time. And
I would say that you were right about the FBI if we weren't in this place with where Kash Patel is leading and that where the FBI is doing whatever this administration wants them to do. But listen, Emmanuel, I would like for you to come back and we can finish this conversation, but I must go right now. It is urgent that I go because I have a very important thing.
Hey, Don, I appreciate you having me on, man. I want you to come on down here, man. And I'm gonna feed you and I'm gonna take you around. We're gonna just go talk and watch how the people run up to you and hug you.
I love that.
I know. I already know that.
And a lot of them gonna be white people. A lot of gonna be white people, Don.
Always, wherever I go, those are always the ones, especially the ones who hate me. They're the first ones to come up and want pictures. But I'm surprised that you think I don't know how you live.
No, you from Baton Rouge. That's why I'm kind of surprised that you're kind of not where I'm at. But I know
I'm not where you are because I grew up there, and the reason that I left is because I needed to be a whole person and I needed to have a perspective that was different than the perspective I grew up with. I was taught a lot of things by older people, by my elders,
just lies. I can't hear him go down his little
in the South is about. I understand thinking that racism is something else than what it is. So, and thinking that just because.
See, he's got to reiterate it. Okay, Don, we've had enough, but thank you so much, Don, for your perspective on that. I'm going to go ahead and full screen it. All right. So I want to hear what you all think about that conversation because a lot was shared. And I think there were a lot of good points made by Emmanuel, and I liked how bold he was. How unapologetic he was. He was telling Don the truth, regardless of the fact that Don is Don Lemon and he has millions of subscribers. I like that he was comfortable enough to do that. And he mentioned Christ. I could tell he was a Christian as well. And so that's what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to have conversations with people like the Don Lemons of the world, and I think Emmanuel did a great job. Now, I do want to thank you all for your love, for your support. Thank you for supporting the channel. It means the world to me. So many of you watch the show on a day-to-day basis. And tonight I want to give you all an opportunity to call into the show for the first time. I've never done this before. So we're going to see how it goes. And a young lady has reached out and said she wants to join the show. So as soon as I see her backstage, we'll have her join. In the meantime, I want to show you all some of our merch. As you guys know, some of you may know this, some of you may not. We have merch for the channel now. we say prayer is our first resort and not our last on this show. Many of you kind of know the history behind that saying. Some of you don't. When I started covering Carmelo Anthony's trial, it was really hard for me, or not his trial, but the case, Austin Metcalf, Carmelo Anthony. It was really hard for me. And there were days when I was like, I don't think I can continue to go forth and continue to cover this case. I had never covered a criminal case before. It was my first one ever. And I was just like, Lord, I really need you. And that day I was like, I want to pray before we get started. And that's kind of how prayer is our first resort and not our last came about. And we have multiple shirts here. I designed both of the shirts. We have our lady shirts in multiple different colors, as you can see. And I love this shirt. I've worn it on the show before. I see that a lot of you have also been purchasing shirts. I've gotten a lot of shirt orders recently. Even today, we had several shirt orders. So I'm glad you all are liking the shirts, and just know that there are plenty available. And if you would like to purchase one, you can. The link is in the show description. We also have a men's shirt. And as you can see, we also have it in many colors as well and sizes. And also, we will have another shirt launch, or I guess, I don't know if that's what they call it, but we're going to be bringing out some new shirts pretty soon in the next month or two. So keep an eye out on that. I know winter is coming up, so I want to make sure that you all have all the shirts that you need, and their long sleeves and stuff like that. So I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, and remember that prayer is our first resort and not our last. Now, I don't see this young lady on quite yet. I did send out the link. If you want to join the show, be sure to email me at the Tamera Nealy Show at gmail.com. The link is in the show description, and I will be sure to add you to the show, and you can come on and we can talk about the topics that we covered today. More specifically, I want to talk about our last topic, which was the conversation that Don Lemon had with Emmanuel, because it shocks me that race is being brought up in 2026 as someone who has grown up around all people from all different backgrounds. And I just expect better from our country. And I want to hear what you all think about that. So I'm going to check my emails just again to see if Kenlius Jackson, if you're watching this, Kenlius Jackson, feel free to go ahead and join the link. I'm sending her an email now. Perfect. Oh, perfect. Okay, so Kenlius is here now. Let's go ahead and welcome Kenlius to the show. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but I'm sure I'll be corrected. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes. What's your name?
It's Cornelius.
Cornelius. Sorry, I said Kenlius like several times, and I apologize for that.
No,
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. Thank you. You gave me a nice little bump in my evening, so because you got good content. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So where are you from?
Originally in Chicago.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So what'd you think about the show tonight, and what stood out to you?
Well, I got a lot of thoughts on it because like that was just all over the place with Don or whatnot. But the biggest thing to me was Don Lemon arguing with this man about his daily life. Like that he's been living for probably decades, and Don Lemon is like trying to tell him that no, you have to like no, it's racism down there. Like you don't realize you're like actually they think you're a pet. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. It's sort of like when like liberals are telling you like you're oppressed as a black person, it's like actually no, I don't feel oppressed, and they're like, no, you don't understand this. Like, how could you not get it? It's like that's what he reminds me of, and that's like he just showed me like exactly like why CNN they got rid of him, because it's just like that kind of stuff is what he was doing on mainstream liberal media too. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And that's a good point about CNN. At some point, I think they just got fed up and they're like, you know what? Our ratings are already tanking. They're already not good. And we don't need you on here, Don, spreading more hate, because then we're going to lose all of our subscribers. So I totally agree with that. And I want to ask kind of, how did you grow up? Because I see obviously you're a black man, and can you relate to Emmanuel's experience as far as how he's grown up? You know, obviously Emmanuel is probably older than you, because he's in his 40s, but I mean, we all have experiences, so I'd love to hear yours.
Well, I grew up in Chicago until I was like 12. All black people in my life, you know what I'm saying? I was born in '88, so that's like when the crack epidemic hit Chicago or whatnot. So I was born right in the heart of that. My mom's and pops was all on drugs, prison, all of that. Moved to California for a little bit, grew up around some black people then, but I lived in a white neighborhood, but I went to like a black school or whatever. Yeah, and then I lived in Las Vegas, all black people. So yeah, I've been all around. So I grew up mostly around black people, but I live in Reno, Nevada now. So it's tons of white people out here. It's the rodeo and all that stuff, nature and hiking and stuff. So I've got to experience like both sides of life. And honestly, so when I see like I feel like the dude in the video that was talking to Don Lemon. I don't really care about racism. Like, if you're racist, okay, whatever. It's like, as long as you're not bothering me, go ahead and do what you want to do. Be racist. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what I think, like where you said he went off the tracks. That's what I think he was trying to say. Like, okay, you're racist. Okay, you're not bothering me. Go. Like, that's what I think he was saying. And that's how I feel about it. Like, because you're not stopping me from making money. You're not stopping me from carrying out my goals. You're not stopping me from doing what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I haven't had to drink from a black only water fountain. I don't have to go out back to get my food. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And thank you for sharing your perspective. Do you have any questions before you jump off, or?
No, I just wanted to hop on, and just because you gave us the opportunity. I do remember you from the Anton Daniels show. You was on there?
Oh, yes. I was on Anton
I seen you on here, and I always liked your perspectives on there because you was like conservative, and you made common sense, and you wasn't like crazy ratchet or nothing like that. So yeah,
well,
I just remember you from there though. I'm glad to see you doing your own thing. Keep it up.
Yes, thank you so much, and I appreciate you joining. How long have you been watching the show?
Actually, just today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
With the Nolan Wells algorithm, I guess you in the algorithm.
Oh, great. I love to hear that. Well, thank you for watching and subscribing, and shout out to Anton Daniels and all the bag chasers. I enjoy when I've been able to. Yeah, I enjoy when I'm able to stop by. So thank you so much for popping in.
All right. Awesome. Have a good one.
Okay. You too. Thank you. All right, y'all. Well, that was an awesome conversation, and thank you so much, KJ, for jumping in. I saw he put KJ, so it's appropriate to call him KJ, because y'all know I accidentally messed up his first name a couple times. But if you've been around here long enough, you know that sometimes I butcher names, but I don't mean it. But I appreciate him popping in, and I want to thank everybody for the support. I see that we have some super chats. Also, if you're wanting to join, you're welcome to join in. I'll probably stay on a couple more minutes, so I'd love to have one more person if you guys want to. If not, there's always other opportunities to jump in and have a conversation with me. I may start doing this more where I do allow you guys to call in, because I want to have conversations with you. And I've been saying this for the past couple months, that I really want to have more conversations with y'all. Ever since I went to Frisco, Texas, and I was on the ground at Carmelo Anthony's trial, and I was talking to different people outside, and y'all saw how that played out. And I was having debates with people, and it was just a lot of fun. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to do that more. So I'm grateful for that and for the opportunity to thank you all for so much support. I see so many jewels that were sent in, and I want to thank everybody for sending those in. I'm not sure exactly what each one means, but I see there's some silver jewels. Somebody sent a jewel that says "Stay hydrated." Also, I see a super chat from Michael. Thank you so much, Michael, for this $5 super chat that says "Amazing show by an amazing woman." Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. God bless you. Let's see what we have here. Chicago 1288. Thank you for this $5 super chat. I wonder if this was KJ, who says Blacktivity, blacks are not going to like this. Yeah, I saw your comment earlier and I was laughing a little bit when I saw it, because I already know how black people are and how they respond, and black people get mad when you start telling the truth. I'm not saying all black people, but a lot of them, because I don't understand it. I don't know why some black people are so committed to racism and they want it to exist so badly. Like, why do you want to be a slave? That's a good question. Like, why do you even want to be a slave? Isn't that weird? Like, shouldn't you want to be free? Shouldn't you be excited about the fact that you're free and you have all these opportunities? It just doesn't make sense. But really, I think that some people really just need Jesus. They really do. And when you don't have God and when you don't have Jesus, sometimes you end up thinking in a way that's not productive. A lot of times you end up doing it because you don't understand that you're free. You have opportunities. I think we might have gotten another person. Okay, actually, that's not another person. That's something else. Okay. Chicago 1288. Thank you for this $2 super chat that says Don Lemon thinks his husband loves him like a pet. That's what I was taking from it. Thank you, Drea 0724 for these jewels. I appreciate it. Thank you all for the jewels. Thank you so much, Faith Works, for these jewels. So many jewels. I appreciate everybody. I want to make sure everyone's acknowledged. Thank you all so much for all the jewels and for all the love. It means a lot to me, and I want to thank you for your support. I think this show was hopefully great. I hope you all enjoyed this show. We talked about a lot, and we should continue to talk about and share the truth because so many people are looking for it. And I guarantee you there's a lot of people who feel like they're alone and like they're the only people thinking the way they are. And that's why this show was created, to share the truth. And I wanted people to know that they're not alone. And when I was talking about college earlier, I really meant it about how, my professors were just pushing such leftist agendas. I mean, they were trying to make it seem like I was I was less than because I'm black and I'm oppressed and all this stuff. And I just didn't understand it because I knew that wasn't how I grew up and that wasn't my experience. When I think about, my time at home, it was just wild to me that was happening. I remember getting so frustrated, and that's why I ended up speaking out on social media and making this Instagram post. And I was like, you black people need to stop talking like this because the problem is your mindset. And oh my gosh, black people in the comment section were so mad at me, but it needed to be said because I know the benefits of being well connected with people from all different backgrounds, and you learn so much when you are. And I thank God for Turning Point USA as well, because I'm telling y'all, people think there are liberal people who want to say that Turning Point is so racist and this and that. But let me tell you something about Turning Point USA. When I was in college, Turning Point USA was like a home base for me. Every time I would go to a Turning Point USA conference or anything, Turning Point USA wise, I would feel more alive and more excited about life than I felt the entire year. So Turning Point USA was a huge blessing to me. But if I was one of those people who was going based off of what the media said and listening to propaganda from people like Don Lemon, I would have missed out on a great opportunity like that, to be around like-minded people who were conservative, who love this country, who are happy to be alive. That's the amazing part about being conservative and being surrounded by conservatives. Is conservatives are very happy people usually. Now, are we perfect people? Absolutely not. Is everything perfect? No, but we're happy. We know we're blessed. And that's the amazing part about being conservative, is we know where our help comes from. We know where our strength comes from, and it comes from Jesus Christ. And we love God. We love our country. We love our community. We understand the importance of having community, so you can grow and you can add value to other people's lives as well. And so there's so many benefits to it. And I hope that more Black people become more open. That's my prayer and my hope, because I don't want anybody to miss out on having an abundant and fulfilling life. And I don't want to see our nation become so polarized. I don't want to see us become divided. I want to see the nation unite. And so I want the Don Lemons of the world to continue to bring on people like Emmanuel and have conversations with people like that. Because when you have conversations with people like Emmanuel, seeds are planted. And that's the thing, is we could all be having these conversations in our day-to-day life. I'm sure you have friends, you have family, and I encourage you to just plant the seeds, because sometimes people are not used to hearing a different perspective, and they may push back, but they also will appreciate it, so don't be afraid to plant the seeds. And who knows, I think they'll reap a harvest if you don't give up. And the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. We don't have enough people in the field working, and that's the problem that we're having. But the harvest is plentiful, which means there's a lot of harvest, which is a great thing. I mean, what farmer doesn't like a lot of harvest, right? So let's be people who are constantly working, and working toward, obviously, sharing the gospel and also sharing the truth. I think there was something else that was on my mind. I'm like, my brain just moves so fast. Sometimes I'm like, I go from one thing to the next sometimes, but a lot of things were said. Somebody said, can you get Emmanuel on the show? I will try my best. Also, speaking of, oh my gosh. Now, I can't tell you who I'm bringing on the show. Not until it's a guy. But not until we get the time solidified. We have a date, but we don't have a time yet. But you all have been asking me for this collaboration. Now, some of you may be shocked by who I'm bringing on. You may have heard of him even today. That's all I'm going to say. But I am bringing someone on who I know you will respect, someone who is making a huge difference in the Nolan Wells case and in the country. And I'm looking forward to that collaboration that'll be announced in the future as soon as we can get that time solidified. And so I appreciate everybody joining tonight. Some of you may have already guessed who the person is. Just know that we are working behind the scenes, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, something that I do want to talk about, just because it's on my mind, and I want to reiterate this point because I think it's so important. And this is something that a good friend of mine taught me. Her name's Mandy. And I learned this when I was in a class too, like back in college, because I would travel 2 hours from my college, away from my college university, to learn about conservative values. And I would do that every other Saturday for a period of time throughout the summer. Just so that I understood why I was conservative and why these values are so important. And I learned so much in this class. And I remember sitting down with my friend Mandy, and she shared some good advice with me that I would love to share with y'all tonight. And that was take initiative. That is something that conservatives do, is we take initiative. And when I was listening to the young lady that we were hearing from earlier, I think that's where she was kind of lacking, is she thinks that someone owes her something. No one owes us anything. You're not entitled to anything. you have to work. Somebody's got to work to fit the bill, right? And so, and also you need to be able to cooperate with a leader, with a man, if you're a woman and you're in a relationship too, you know. But that's another conversation. But you know, taking initiative is really important. And also another thing that my friend Mandy taught me was to carry a notebook. When you're out having conversations and you're going out to lunch with people or dinner and you're learning from different people, carry a notebook and take notes so you remember what you're learning. And that really stuck with me. And I think it's helped me come a far way, even as a YouTuber, just taking notes and in observing my surroundings and taking in new information has been helpful. And so I hope that helps you guys, helps you guys as well. So that's something that's really stuck with me. And yeah, I see your comments in the chat, and yeah, awesome comments. I want to thank everybody for joining tonight. We had a great show. Over 1,000 people were on here at one time, which is awesome. And so I want to thank everybody for that. Thank you so much for these jewels. Means a lot to me. Thank you all for the comments, for the love. It means a lot. So thank you. Tamera giving us some suspense. William, it's great to see you tonight or hear from you tonight. I guess so. I want to make sure that I under promise and over deliver. And so I don't want to announce who this guest is until we 100% have that time solidified. But just know that I've been in contact with his team and we are working on it. I've been working on it. So just know that. But this guest is this is somebody you want to make sure this is a reason you want to make sure your post notifications on. You don't want to miss this guest that's going to be on very soon. Also, we have another guest who's coming on Thursday, which I can announce who that guest is. Jay Witt will be here on Thursday to give us some updates on Candace Owens and also her France lawsuit that she's in right now and whatever else is going on there, because I haven't really been I haven't caught up on the Candace Owens situation and Turning Point situation in a while. So he's going to come on and kind of give us some updates, and I'm looking forward to him coming on. So just know that'll be happening on Thursday. I think we may be going live. I will let you guys know ahead of time. You'll see the notification, the thumbnail that will be going live, momentarily or whatever. So just know Jay Witt will be coming on Thursday. All right. And then we will hopefully have the next guest on next Thursday. So that's the plan. We'll see what happens. And I will announce that guest as soon as I know for sure. Also, let me write it down. Let me write down to reach out to Emmanuel. I don't know if I can get him on because I'll need to find his information. But I will write that down and see if we can get him on as well. So it seems like you guys are already guessing who it is. Now, I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. I'm not going to tell you yet. But you may or may not be right. Okay? We'll see what we can do. Okay. Somebody said, I don't want you to end. Well, that's so sweet. And that's a good thing, right? I don't want to end either. This is always the hardest part, is saying, okay, talk to you later. Bye. That's the hardest part about ending the show. Just because I love being with you all so much. And I want to thank each and every one of you. I have the greatest subscribers on the entire internet. And I say that in all seriousness because you all are the most supportive, the most loving, the most loyal, the most kind people on the internet. And I appreciate everything you do to support the Tamera Nealy show and just the community. I mean, the way you all love each other. I see how you respond to each other in the chat. I see the way that you respond, even when we post the daily Bible scriptures. You guys are always just so uplifting to one another, and it means a lot to me and a lot to this community, and I want to thank you for that. Also, I want to thank my mods. I have the best mods on the internet. Deb did an amazing job tonight. And so shout out to Deb for being here tonight. Please show her some love in the comment section. We have just an amazing community over here on the Tamera Nealy show, and I'm blessed and I'm grateful that we're at a point where we can connect with each other, and we can, continue to expand this community and start having guests on more regularly and things like that. That's a blessing, and I'm grateful that we're at this point. So awesome. So anyways, I love you all, and I want to thank you for joining. Also, thank you, Lofus66 for these jewels. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you all so much. Well, I love you guys so much, and I want to thank you. And I pray you all have a wonderful night. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. See you tomorrow. And if you watched the replay and you made it this far, thank you so much for your support, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you all for joining. I love you, and you'll hear from me soon. Talk to you later. Love you.